One thing I really like about Premiere Pro's interface is the ability to customize it to the way that I like to work. I can very easily adjust the size of the windows and move the individual tabs to different panels. Let's take a look at how that would work. If I place my cursor between any two windows or any two panes, I can simply slide them up or down. So if I needed more real estate in my timeline because I had lots and lots of layers or lots and lots of tracks, it's very easy for me to adjust that by just clicking and dragging. I can also do the same thing between windows left and right. Let me go ahead and move this down a little bit. And as you can see, if I needed more or less space, I can simply move these around and adjust it to exactly the size that I want. If I was working on audio and I wanted my meters to be really big, I simply would stretch them out. This is really good if you're doing any kind of 5.1 surround sound or multiple track editing. Now, in addition to being able to resize each of the individual panes, I can also not only just select these tabs, but I can relocate them. So for instance, if I'm used to having all of my media that's in my project pane in the upper left-hand corner of my screen, I can simply grab it and drag it and drop it into that area. I want you to note that depending on where you let go, you're going to get a different result. I can drag it to the middle, and if you notice, you'll see a purple highlight dead center, or I could actually drag it to each of the edges. Now, if I drag it to the middle and let go, what happens is that tab now gets moved into the panel in the upper left-hand corner. And in an earlier video, we learned that this slider allows us to see all of the tabs in the panel in case you have more tabs than the panel will reveal. Now, what would happen if I grabbed it and dragged it and put it into one of the corners? Let me go ahead, click on this, bring it back to where it was originally, and you'll notice that when I dragged it back, it didn't immediately jump to the left side where it was before. It actually went to the very end of that pane. Well, I can rearrange any of these tabs simply by dragging them left and right and position them exactly where I need them to be. Now, if I took and dragged it into the upper left-hand corner, but instead of dropping it in the middle, I dropped it either on the top or, say, the left side, I'll get a different result. By dropping it onto one of these flaps, I actually create a new pane, so now I have two adjacent elements, and that might be an easier way for me to work. So when you drop something in the center, it adds that tab to the pane, and if you drop it on any of the flaps, it will create a new pane. Now, if I did that by accident, I could simply grab it, drag it over, and drop it on here, and we can get the result that we anticipated. Not only does this work with your four primary panels, you can do this with both the audio panel as well as the tool panel. So for instance, if I grab the tool panel and drag it all the way to the top and see that thin little flap, when I let go, I now have a wonderfully large space where I can easily find my tools. Now, of course, that's not what I would really do. I would actually grab this and resize it, so now all my tools are in the top part of my user interface. A lot like some of the word processing programs you might already be using. Now, I'm working on a single screen, but this becomes very valuable if you have a dual screen or dual monitor setup. You can set up your interface exactly how you like it. Now, once you've created the perfect interface for your needs, simply go over to Window, Workspace, and select New Workspace. Give it the name that you want, and press OK. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this so that for the rest of the course, your drop-down menu will match mine. In addition to creating new workspaces, as you can see, there are 7 preset workspaces that are already defined for basic editing needs. Some of these are audio or color correction, working with effects, or even working with metadata. Primarily, you're going to be using the editing workspace, and if you like to go back in time, you could use the 5.5 layout. I would only do that if you're going out to play Pong at the video arcade. So let's go ahead and reset to the default workspace for editing. The keyboard shortcut for this on a Mac would be Option-Shift-0, and on a Windows machine, it would be Alt-Shift-0. You'll see a dialog box that asks, do you really want to reset your Windows so you don't actually do this by mistake? We'll click Yes and return to our default setup.